After assuming the position of Apple CEO in 2012, Tim Cook hurriedly traveled to China, which became the first country he visited after taking office. In the following 4 years, Cook visited China 7 times, from Tsinghua University to Foxconn factories, from climbing the Great Wall to learning calligraphy. According to statistics, Cook has visited China at least 20 times, with his presence felt across various parts of the country. In March and October of this year, Apple visited China twice, during which Cook repeatedly emphasized the supposed importance of the Chinese market and increased investment in the Chinese market. Recently, Cook even inspected the Apple Watch production line at Luxshare Precision, a supply chain company. However, to his embarrassment, Luxshare Precision's stock price dropped by 0.13% at the opening on the second day of Cook's visit, and only saw a marginal increase of 0.22% by 3 p.m., indicating that the capital market showed no response to it. It is widely understood that since the moment the U.S. imposed sanctions on Huawei, Apple has been preparing to decouple from mainland China, regardless of Tim Cook's statements. According to teardown reports of flagship iPhone models over the past 3 years from authoritative research firm Fomalhaut Techno Solutions, the proportion of components sourced from the U.S. has increased from 22% to 33%, indicating some success in the reshoring plans of high-end manufacturing to the U.S. For suppliers like South Korea, who provide iPhone screens and flash memory, the proportion remains stable. Japan supplies RF chips for iPhones, and Taiwan's TSMC handles the production of A-series chips, with no significant changes in their proportions. However, Apple has shown a ruthless attitude towards its supply chain in mainland China. In just 2 years, Apple has removed dozens of Chinese companies from its supply chain, causing the proportion of components supplied by mainland China to plummet from 4.5% to 2%. Cook has gone to great lengths to de-Chinaize Apple's operations. Currently, China's leverage over Apple is limited to its contract manufacturers. However, Apple, in collaboration with Foxconn, has shifted a $300 billion capacity from mainland China to India. The production of the iPhone 15 has already partially moved to India. Apple's plan is to transfer 25% of its production capacity to India by 2025 and increase it to 60% by 2027. Foreign media highly appreciate Cook's actions, calling him extremely clever, for 3 main reasons. Firstly, Apple's withdrawal from the Chinese market not only aligns with U.S. policy towards China but also helps bring back manufacturing to the United States, granting Apple greater influence from the U.S. government. Secondly, Southeast Asia offers lower labor costs, and, made in India, would help Apple reduce costs and increase profit margins. Thirdly, it reduces the risk of being choked by mainland China and avoids Apple facing Huawei-style sanctions. When Apple first entered China, it invested a significant amount of technology, money, and resources to help Chinese suppliers improve their manufacturing capabilities. Apple's high standards have to some extent contributed to the rise of Chinese manufacturing, driving the gradual maturity of the Chinese smartphone industry chain. The rapid rise of Chinese smartphone brands can also be attributed to this. Therefore, some argue that once Apple, as the leader of the manufacturing industry, departs, the Chinese manufacturing industry may face a catastrophic situation. This argument had some merit 6 months ago, but now there is a new leader who can take Apple's place, and that is Huawei. Huawei aims to ship 60-70 million smartphones by 2024, and its return has revived a large number of Chinese suppliers abandoned by Apple. After being removed from Apple's supply chain, OFilm suffered huge losses of over 10 billion yuan in 3 years, and its CEO said they must stubbornly survive. Following Huawei's return, OFilm has directly received 70–80% of the order volume and value share, and the company's factory in Nanchang has hired thousands of people to work overtime to produce for Huawei. Battery supplier CATL stated that they have secured orders for over 50% of the batteries for Huawei Mate 60 Pro, while wireless charging antenna module supplier Sunwida Communication stated that their orders are already full. Recalling the success of Huawei smartphones sweeping the Chinese market with a 56% market share in 2019, and reaching a market share of 25.39% in Europe. Now that Huawei has essentially resolved its chip issues and made a comeback, Apple should be more concerned about its own survival rather than how to de-Chinaize. Previously, Apple dominated the smartphone market and captured over 85% of the industry's profits with its self-designed A-series chips and unique iOS system. However, Huawei posed a significant threat to Apple's survival with its accumulated expertise in communication technology and the advantage of self-developed high-silicon chips. Through the success of its Mate and P series, Huawei challenged Apple's position in the market. For the United States, a world no longer dominated by them is not acceptable, and a strong rise of China in the high-tech field is not permitted. Consequently, the heavy stick of sanctions fell heavily on Huawei. In 2019, during Huawei's peak period, the company held a 56% market share in China, while Apple's sales remained sluggish, leading them to cut orders from upstream supplier Foxconn by 30% to overcome the crisis. However, with the arrival of U.S. sanctions, a series of U.S.-related technology components, including chips, 5G, screens, and memory, were cut off. Even organizations like the SD Association and Bluetooth Alliance, which had maintained neutrality and openness, expelled Huawei. After losing its biggest threat, Apple's market share surged, and by the first quarter of 2023, its market share in the Chinese domestic market rose from a low point of 8% to 20%, securing the top spot in domestic sales. There is an old Chinese saying, "Treat others as you wish to be treated." Tim Cook was afraid that China would sanction Apple just like the US did to Huawei. Therefore, in recent years, Apple has been trying to shift its supply chain to Southeast Asia by pulling along Foxconn and hundreds of other suppliers. Foxconn has directly relocated 300 billion yuan worth of production capacity from the mainland China. The Huawei Mate 60 series was suddenly released, delivering a blow to Apple. According to reports from research agencies, the expected shipment volume of Huawei Mate 60 Pro and Mate 60 Pro Plus has been raised to 20 million units. As a result, the expected shipment volume of the iPhone 15 series has been lowered from 90 million units to 78 million units. This signifies that Huawei's comeback marks the beginning of Apple's downhill journey. Moreover, Apple is currently facing three major challenges. Firstly, there is an issue with the yield rate of iPhones produced in India. It is reported that the yield rate of iPhones produced in India is only around 50%, and even for the accepted products, the quality control is a major concern. A blogger once live-streamed the unboxing of 4 iPhone 15 units, and all of them had small dust particles, with some even directly on the camera, significantly impacting the image quality. Additionally, the protective moat formed by Apple's A-series chips and iOS is being breached. According to tests conducted by several bloggers, the 3nm process A17 Pro chip used in the iPhone 15 Pro generates significant heat. In stress tests, the device's temperature rose from 33 degrees to 46 degrees within just 1 or 2 minutes. The third point is that concerns have been raised about iPhone's radiation exceeding the standards. The radiation level of the iPhone 14 Pro is over 300 times higher than that of the Huawei Mate 60 Pro. Recently, the iPhone 12 was banned from sale in France due to radiation exceeding the standards. France threatened Apple, if the radiation issue is not resolved through software updates, the sold iPhones will be forcibly recalled. In the end, Apple had to comply. As we all know, the weaker the mobile phone signal, the higher the radiation. Apple's signal has always been poor, and to ensure signal strength, they have to increase the transmission power, resulting in radiation exceeding the standards. Therefore, if Apple reduces radiation levels through system updates, the signal will become even weaker, and it is likely to face criticism from many users. Now, with Huawei's strong comeback with its Kirin chips and 5G technology, Apple facing yield issues due to its supply chain shift, and Europe's increasingly strict regulations, Apple is paying the price for its arrogance over the years. The decline of Apple and the rise of Huawei have become inevitable. Thank you for watching our video. After watching the video, how do you think about the development of Chinese technology in the world? You can put your opinions and ideas in the comments below. We will keep on uploading new videos. So your subscribe and likes will encourage us to create new videos.